Hello, so this is going to be a bit of a different type of video right now. I was debating on even doing this, or I was probably just going to post like a little TikTok about this. But, and I'm, first of all, even before I go even further with this, I'm aware reality TV is edited, and I'm aware this is from, I believe this was filmed either 2021, 2022, so it's been a few years since this aired slash happened. But, and I also, because I'm talking about Love is Blind, this is from season three. I have not watched I guess they call it After the Altar. I have not watched any of the episodes after the reunion because I just watched the reunion today. And I'm aware of all the things when it comes to reality TV and things being edited, but I feel like I need to say something about this in particular. I'm just going to get into it. So, Love is Blind, season three. Obviously, the theme that's been, I have not watched any of the other seasons. I'm watching it from the beginning, and I'm choosing not to look up any of the people or see who's still together till after I finish that season in its entirety. So, but this one got me. No one on this show is perfect. Everyone had issues, and especially, I think the idea of Love is Blind as an experiment is really good, and you can tell even from that first season the intentions were very pure, but unfortunately, by season three is usually when people either start coming in for reality TV. Andrew was definitely a big example of that with his literal fake tears. And, obviously I would say by season three of reality TV is when the formula starts to kick in terms of what is being edited, drama that's being pushed, who's the most entertaining, who's the villain in the story. It was very obvious from season two, what's his name? Shake had no problem playing the villain that season. In season one, I think they definitely tried to make Jessica be somewhat of that villain, and other people. I feel like, I think after the fact, though, I don't really feel like during the filming of season one, anyone just immediately took on that villain role. But I definitely feel like after the fact is when the villain idea was kind of pushed onto certain people. And basically, back to season three, nobody's perfect in the show, even if the people that ended up together. And I don't know who is still together now. That's another thing. I don't look up if anyone's still together or where they're at till after the show is over. Obviously, we now know from season two, the couples that did get married, they're both divorced. But that's a whole other thing. Just sorry, ADHD brain's going off. It's late that I'm filming this, but I wanted to film this. Basically, Cole and Zanab. Obviously, they both aren't perfect people. I think Cole had a very goofy personality, and Zanab, I feel like she was very, I think she's definitely a more mature person. Is that how she came off? But I could also see there was a lot of sensitivities there. And I even Cole said in the reunion a lot of things. It was edited to make it look like. He definitely admitted he could be a messy person, but it was edited a way that made her look more nagging than what it was. Although even when she wasn't talking to him, when she was talking to other people, let's just say I was still getting some vibes of there's a lot here that wasn't edited as far as personality goes. Anyway, what's really bothering me is the way Cole was treated at the reunion. Obviously the wedding really bothered me. She said no, but the way she did it, where she basically said no and then kind of verbally put him down under the guise of her being the strong woman walking away from someone mistreating her and her friends clapping. And then in her final shots of that wedding scene after she said no, saying, "Was it ghetto that my friends clapped for that?" Yeah, it was, sweetheart. Anyway, and what really got has me disgusted with that whole situation, which again, things are edited, no one's perfect. And I think even Bartiz said this in an interview after the show, which that was another one where, again, nobody's perfect. But, and I know it's a little side tangent here, but as far as Bartiz and Nancy goes, I understand why she was upset. I understand why her family was upset. There's definitely a time and place for that. I feel like she handled it well the day of the wedding. I'm sure she's had time to process everything, and obviously things are edited. But okay, putting myself in her shoes, yeah, I wouldn't be happy if someone I thought I was getting married to went and was off with some blonde girl and that was coming out in the blogs and all that. But what I do appreciate from Bartiz is he wasn't letting them shame him because that's what they were trying to do. Which I will say with Matt, not I feel like Matt and Colleen were probably the least judgmental at the reunion, even though, I think, I don't think it's because of Matt or because anyone told her not to say anything, but Colleen just had this very almost scared expression on her face. And I feel like she was either scared she was going to say the wrong thing, especially when they were talking about the situation with Cole, like saying that she would have been his type in the real world and that sort of thing. But I would say they were pretty quiet, or maybe a lot of their talking points were edited at the reunion. I can't remember his name for the life of me, I'm sorry, but the guy that was with Raven, he was also very gracious at the reunion. And as far as Bartiz goes, you know, in being in Nancy's shoes, I probably wouldn't be happy seeing my supposed to be fiance guy I thought I was going to marry off and about day after something like that happens. But remember, you're dealing with extraordinary circumstances. This is a fucking experiment they're doing. And it's one that, at this point in time, even though it's like season 3, I'm sure it's not something people are used to, especially when you put real life people in those situations. And that can have an effect on people in a variety of ways. And people deal with stuff very differently. Some people go out and drink after something like that, or they go out and sleep with a stranger, which I don't know. Which Bartiz said, "You're not going to get me talking about my sex life," which I commend him saying that. But honestly, I feel like they tried to shame him, and he was just not having it, which I commend him for. And I just noticed that Brennan and Alexa, how judgmental they were, how judgmental even the girls were, because they were all on Z's side when it came to Cole, and I guess whatever she told them he said to her or his actions were, which, not saying he was an angel. Like, I do think the conversation he had Colleen was completely inappropriate. And I do believe, obviously, we saw on camera Colleen was apologizing to Matt, and I'm sorry, I don't believe that Cole waited before the wedding or 2 weeks later, I think she said it was, to tell her that a conversation happened. A setting with the bachelorette party, like, or the bachelor party, we're trying to say that Cole got a girl's number. I don't know if that's true or not. Even some of the guys really couldn't substantiate that had happened. And I just feel like it was a bash on Cole, which we don't know what happens behind the scenes, sure. But what really irks me is not only just the way Cole was treated at the reunion, because you could see his body language. He was so uncomfortable, which they revealed they hadn't talked since the wedding. But also, like, he just looked broken. Like, you could see it. And then the way he just breaks down at the end, and Elise Bartiz and the guy who was sitting next to him, Raven's boyfriend, was comforting him and being present for him as a friend, while it was like everyone else was just looking at him with disgust, even though they didn't really pan out to his face, to other people's faces that much. And then Z tries to, like, I forgave you after that happened. Meanwhile, she was just saying all these horrible things. And I was just getting, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I was getting the vibe. It's almost like I was definitely getting toxic psycho vibes. It's like when you hurt somebody, but then you pour a little salt in the wound, but then you're like, I'm sorry, baby, and try to put the bandage over it. That's the vibe I was getting from her at that moment. Like I said, obviously, even Cole said neither one of them were perfect, and I definitely think they weren't meant to be together in the end. I had a feeling she was probably going to say no. I just didn't expect the lead up of stuff to it. And I do not think it was appropriate in that one episode or scene where he asked, "Are you bipolar?" Because at first you really couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic or serious. Maybe he was being serious with that question, but it was in the midst of an argument. And I don't think she's bipolar, and I'm not going to sit here and try to diagnose her, but what I will say is a lot of the traits and behaviors up to the reunion that I saw is very narcissistic. It comes off very narcissistic, and it reminds me of traits I've seen in people in my life who are quite narcissistic. And, obviously I'm sure some time has passed since then. I hope she's evolved and grown and is happy in her current relationship. And Cole, he's pretty much not really on Instagram or TikTok anymore from what I'm seeing. It feels like he's living a low profile, quiet life. And honestly, he deserves that after what he'd been through with a lot of them, with her specifically, yeah. And just what really irked me, with a kind of like a final nail in the coffin for me, was she tried to say that he, I don't know what their other conversations were off camera, but basically that it was on camera, that it didn't air, that he, I guess, was telling her not to eat these two tangerines or something like that. and it was called the cutie scene because I guess that's what the oranges are called. And they aired the scene at the end of the reunion, which somebody commented this, and I believe this is true. Whoever went ahead and decided to release that scene deserves a raise because they definitely cleared a lot of things up. Okay, the way that scene goes about, like, you could tell when he's obviously just being his jokester self. They were talking about wedding stuff, and she pulled out a bowl and was eating out of it, and he was eating out of it with her while they were having a conversation. Then she started peeling the oranges, and he didn't say it in the way like, "Oh, are you gonna eat those?" She's like, "Oh, like low calories," and at first, because he was making a motion, you think he's talking about her, but he was really like, "Oh, we're gonna have a big supper later." So he was making a motion with his hands like this to emphasize, "Hey, we're gonna eat a lot later," not in a way where he was saying, "Oh, you can't eat this." And she was like, "Oh, I only had a banana earlier." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "I offered you a poke bowl earlier." And she's like, "Oh, but we had that last night." So he wasn't saying she couldn't eat like the way she was trying to make it sound. And I don't know what she's told the other girls, because, which I get it, girls, they want to be a ride or die for their friend. But I wouldn't just go around believing everything your friend tells you is fact, honestly. And from the clips I've seen of from the not reunion, from the after the altar, it looks like Brennan is still trying to be this girl's guy, whatever. I think because I've seen a lot of comments saying this, it's like backboneless Brennan or something like that. I definitely get the vibe of who wears the pants in that relationship. So of course he's gonna do what his wife says. And just the way, like, you could tell from the clip, he wasn't really mad about the situation until his wife said, like, as Cole said from the clip I saw, his wife said something to him to go say something, basically. It's like, really? And it's just immature, it's cringe, and it's just unfortunate. And I think that's why Cole broke down so much in the reunion episode, because he just felt like everyone was against him. And it's just like, it was just like so unfair. Like, obviously both of them said some stuff that was not great, and obviously we're not meant to be together. I understand that, and I'm not going to sit here and say like Z doesn't have the right to her feelings, but don't put it all on the other person. And even further, I don't know if this is 100% true because I didn't watch the interview, but apparently there was the rumor mill going around that she met up with Cole's ex-wife. Really? I don't like that. Like, that is not, that's just gross, honestly. If that is true, that is gross. But basically, my main takeaway of all this is when it comes to relationships, you don't know 100% what goes on, especially if it's around reality TV. And for someone to just sit there and try to put it all on the other person, and then everyone, without even knowing the full facts, is ganging up on someone, it's honestly gross. And quite frankly, it's not a good look for any of the people at that reunion. So I hope, Cole, wherever you are in life right now, that you're living your best life, that you're happy, healthy, and have found love again. Because he even said in the reunion, because he was so emotional, it's like, this made me never want to date again. Because he's actually one of the few people that I guess at that point said he regretted doing the show. And I feel so bad for him for that. I hope he's happy and healthy, and, staying away from the internet makes him happy. You got to do what you got to do to protect your peace, dude. As far as Z goes, I hope she evolves, grows, and lives a happy, healthy life, and kind of, like I said, just some growth. I hope so for her. As far as the rest of them go, Alexa and Brennan just came off very judgy. I was rooting for them, and I'm glad, hope they're happy and healthy. But quite frankly, what fix your attitudes, honestly. As for the rest of them, like the Nancy and Raven, like, I wouldn't you can go hard for your friends, be a girl's girl. Make sure your girl's telling you the truth, or make sure you got the full story before you go judging. As yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say on that part. But yeah, this was cringe. It was nasty. It was sad, and it just irked me. I know this is from years ago. I know it's reality TV. I keep saying that, but the whole season, honestly, I was just getting this vibe from Z, that just a lot of narcissism. And maybe she's not like that in real life. Maybe that's just how she was edited. But like I said, like, just some of the comments, the behavior, it was just very, it rubbed me the wrong way. And obviously, Cole, his goofiness at times I thought was inappropriate, but he didn't. I don't think he was just sitting there at the reunion trying to say he was right and or playing into the cameras like Shake was from the prior season. He was like eating up the attention and eating up his villain era. Cole, here's that's the difference between the two of them. Cole does not want to be the villain. Shake was happy to take on that role. And honestly, I would say the villain of this season, it was Z. Yeah. But hey, hope everyone's happy and healthy. Hope everyone can evolve, grow, and prosper in their lives. And once again, Cole, I am sorry that that was done to you and that you had to experience that. And that is what reverberates through the internet. And quite frankly, you honestly, I can tell you're a good guy. Obviously, no one's perfect. I'm sure you have your own evolving and growing that you're doing, and I commend you for that. But quite frankly, you didn't deserve to be treated that way, and I wish you nothing but the best. I do look forward to the next season. Hopefully, there's more real people on there that are actually there for love, and one, no one with fake tears, and two, people that I honestly feel like they need to have people do psychological evaluations before they go on these shows to make sure they're prepared for it and everything that comes with it. Seriously. But yeah, I'm still gonna watch next season, and I recommend you watch Love Is Blind because despite this season, I do believe there's still people there that go on there that are in it for love and have genuine intention. All right, thank you for coming to my Love Is Blind TED Talk. Hope y'all are having a great day, night, whatever time watching this.